Have you ever tried to squeeze yourself into a spot that's just too darn small? If you have, you know it's not very comfortable. You end up with your hands up like this, and your knees are up by your chest, and you can't stretch out. There's just no room. Well, sometimes that happens to us on our farms as well. We get so scrunched into a specific mindset, a specific way of being, a specific way of looking at the world that we feel like we don't have any room to move, no room to expand, no room to explore. Well, today we are going to talk about how we can begin to shift our mindsets, to expand our mindsets, so that we can see all the possibility that's available, both for us as individuals and for our farm. So let's start with saying, how does a scrunched up farm mentality affect you? What areas in your life do you feel like your farm is kind of moving on the same path it's always been? You don't have a lot of options. What are those limits? Maybe it's some finances. Are you being held back because you believe that a certain way of farming is just not financially viable? Are you concerned that maybe you don't have enough staff to do some of the changes that you'd like to do? Do you maybe not trust that you have the right stuff to bring your farm in a new direction? Well, these are all very common barriers for farmers. So I'm going to come up with a few different strategies that we can look at and start making some very important but very simple shifts that can break us free from those limiting beliefs and those boundaries that we've created for ourselves that maybe don't have to be there. So when you first recognize that you might be stuck in your farm life, that you might be squished into a small space, and you have that feeling that you want to burst out of that, you have an area of your farm that you say, man, it would be so great to put in a bakery. I really want a bakery. Or, man, I really wish we had a YouTube channel. Or, boy, I hate social media. I really want to hire a social media consultant. And then all well, we can't do that because starts happening. That's a very key indicator that there's a mindset shift that can happen. So the first thing we're going to do when we recognize that we're squished is we're going to start to get curious. And we're going to start asking ourselves, first of all, what is it that we're looking for? What parts of our farm life are feeling too constraining? What are those areas that we're interested in moving into? And why are we afraid to do it? I'm going to tell you, fear can be debilitating, but fear doesn't have to be the enemy. Fear is there because it's trying to help us out. It's trying to keep us safe. So rather than looking at fear and being like, oh, fear is an enemy, no, we're going to embrace fear and we're going to say, fear, thanks so much for coming and showing me that this is a really scary thing. How about if you help me figure out a way that we can make it safer? Investigate. Ask yourself those questions. And you're going to find that as your fear turns into curiosity, number one, you start to get a little less anxious, and you start to see potential where potential didn't exist before. Your situation hasn't changed. You've changed. And that change makes all the difference. Once you've gotten curious, you've done your investigating, you've figured out what it is that you're looking for, you've realized that there may be some creative options that you hadn't considered, hadn't put on the table before, then it's time to start learning from those around us. Now, I do not recommend that you necessarily take everybody's advice around you, especially if you happen to be living in a situation where the advice tends to be negative. Like, if the advice is always no, no, we can't, because chances are you don't want to, build your whole life around that. However, you can learn from it, because the people who are saying no have reasons for saying no. So you can sit there and you can look at what were the problems that they encountered that make them say no, and how have other people overcome those challenges? Because let me tell you, there is no challenge that you're going to face in this world that is completely unique to you. Sorry about that. It might make you feel a little less special. It's okay though, because it's encouraging to me to know that every single issue that I've faced, somebody has already faced it in one way, shape, or form beforehand. And what that means is that somebody, whether successfully or not, somebody has done something to try to fix that problem. And so I can learn from the things that other people tried. I can see what didn't work, and then I can bring my own creativity to the table and say, okay, well that didn't work. But what if we do this? What if I bring in this wisdom from this other person, maybe in a completely different area? For example, I work with farmers, but I work with farmers with a lot of tools that most farm consultants don't use. I use an awful lot of journaling techniques. I use a lot of mindset shift techniques. I use arting techniques and music techniques because those are my skills. I also bring in a lot of educational theory and background because I was a teacher. So some of the solutions that I bring to the table for farmers are different than what you're going to get other places. Not because I'm so brilliant, although if you want to tell me I'm brilliant, hey, I'll take that. But because I have different life experiences, and I can pull things in that most farm-centered people wouldn't have been exposed to. So this is where learning from others is truly a really important mindset shift for farmers. And that's where, a lot of growth really happens when we're able to take knowledge and wisdom from all kinds of different people in areas and then integrate that into our farm lives. That's where there's a whole lot of excitement that happens and synergies that get created that weren't there before. The third one, which is that you need to follow your heart. And I know that for some of you, you're like, oh, follow your heart. If you don't like the idea of following your heart, go with the gut. Follow your gut feeling. Because after you've taken a look at the situation, you've learned what other people have to teach you on certain issues, then you need to sit down and take a look at yourself and say, what is it that I'm feeling led to do? What am I called into? What do I really believe the future should be for my farm, for myself, for my family? And trust that. I will guarantee you that you will have people tell you you're a little bit crazy. It's true. Anytime you are going to step into your most expansive farm life, there are going to be other people telling you that what you're planning on doing can't be done, has never been done, will never be done. Okay? That's okay. They can have that belief. You're going to step into that sense of the fact that I feel called to do this means that there has to be a way to do it. I might just need to figure it out. Okay? And then you start this whole new process of, again, going back and getting curious and finding out what it is that you need to know in order to make that happen. What people do you need around you to help support you to be able to make those good decisions? And that mindset of curiosity and of camaraderie and of, truly trusting yourself, compassion for yourself, but also self-trust, that's going to be something that you keep feeding into every time you make a new step forward. So, this is my call to you. Take a look at your farm life. Where are you feeling a little scrunched? What spaces in your farm life are a little too small for you right now? Share them down below. Maybe some people have some experience with that and they can help you start to expand your mindset. Are you ready? It's your time to grow.